Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score!
Ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. And I said, Stone Cold, why have one when you can have them both?
Swung out and drilled! Deep right center! Away back! Gone for Tony!
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up.
It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Awful.
How is she awful?
Hates freedom.
And now, Any Given Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Ward and Ethan Simpson.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup! Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection!
Hello, everybody, and welcome on in to Any Given Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Brendan Ward. Yes, and you know I'm sitting right here with my main man,
Ethan Simpson, how are you?
and we're going to go ahead and get into the Fantasy Football League. I told you last week it was rivalry week. Now, unfortunately, I took L's all weekend when it came to football, except for one, to me, possibly the most important one, considering I had to see the guy I was able to beat 2 days, not even 12 hours later. Yes, I finally got back on track and got a W against my man, Ethan, over here, in what thankfully ended up being a situation where I didn't need Andy Dalton to perform well on Monday.
Yeah, you definitely didn't. But I needed Josh Allen to perform well on Monday, and he did not do as well as he should have. And I'm a little ticked off about that. I'm at 3-3, right at 500, 2-game losing streak. Not sure what's going on with my team here. Mostert is constantly injured, so I understand that. Derrick Henry did have a great game for me, put up 40, but my defense just decided, hey, we're not going to show up. And then on top of that, John Sherman Smith-Schuster decided not to show up either. It's just, you know what? I'm over it. I'm on to next week.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to get the win, but I would agree. I benefited from a lot of down games that you probably wouldn't have expected. You know what I'm saying? You had Odell get 2 points. You had Juju get like 3. I'd argue to say that if Derrick Henry didn't get 40-some points, you weren't even in the game just because of some of the underperformances that you unfortunately had. But it's starting to shake out a little bit, almost halfway through the fantasy year. Lights, camera, action. Owner Dean is number 1 still after getting a W this week. Devil Lettuce Wop Lover, surprisingly, still at number 2, despite the fact that he took a couple weeks off from updating his team. The Fantasy F Words, Kyle, possibly the most surprising team to this point, considering it's his first year ever in fantasy. Sitting at the 3 spot, a 4-2 record. And then Trey Hair Fans, which is your brother, Ian, sitting at 4. I'm at number 5 after the win, but we're all log jammed right there. I'm only at number 5 because of points scored, considering I'm the highest scoring team in the league. Somehow I'm only 500. And then rounding out the playoffs at number 6 is Primetime Manton. Silence of the Lambs, after losing 2 in a row, which is Heidi, falled from number 1 to number 7 and wouldn't be in the playoffs. Some tough losses from her. And then you, at number 8, need to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see some big games here. The Bills definitely have a bye week coming up here soon, so I need to hop on that. I did draft my guy, Matt Stafford, but due to other bye weeks, I had to drop him. So hopefully he's still floating around somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of where that's kind of where I found myself with Andy Dalton this week. Is Russell Wilson was out because of a bye week.
Yeah.
And I had to play you, and I was like, man, I need a quarterback. And of course, I was like, you know what? I think Andy Dalton will be okay. As long as he gets me 15 to 20 points, I'll have a shot to win. It's not going to be the 30, 40 that Russ was going to give me. But, and I just actually want to talk about this trade that got proposed to me because I'm not taking it. So it was just atrocious, but I thought it was funny. The trade that was proposed was CeeDee Lamb for James Conner straight up.
Huh. Yeah, that's just CeeDee Lamb?
Just CeeDee Lamb.
Nobody else?
Nobody else. It was CeeDee Lamb for, let me see if I could, because it just showed it to me.
Yeah, there's been some wild trade proposals this year that I've been seeing from people.
Well, it's Lights Camera Action, which is the same guy that tried to trade with T.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt and somebody else for Devontae Adams, which I wouldn't take that trade.
So I found it. Yeah, here it is. James Conner straight up for CeeDee Lamb, which, I mean, if I had running backs,
yeah,
I might take, considering CeeDee Lamb has been the higher scorer of the two. The problem is James Conner is actually getting in the end zone more often than not. He's been there every single game, except for one. So I don't know. I'm still kind of sitting on it. But I don't think I'm going to take it just because I still don't have McCaffrey or Tariq Cohen. Myles Gaskin and James Robinson are my backups, which they're starting running backs, but they're on very bad teams.
Yeah.
So that's where we're sitting with fantasy. Moving on to the atrociousness that was this Sunday's Browns-Steelers game over in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. The Browns get embarrassed, and I'm not going to mince words. It's embarrassed.
Absolutely.
38-7 at the hands of the Steelers. It seems like when the Browns are going to lose, they're going to just get destroyed. They're not going to make it tight. They're not going to look like they belong in the game. If they're going to lose, might as well lose big. They have 2 losses on the season. One's 36-6. The other one only to be outdone by the Steelers at 38-7. At least the Browns scored 1 more point this time. But just abysmal. Where do you place blame? A lot of people are going to come out and say it's Baker. A lot of people are going to come out and say it was injuries. Wyatt Teller being out, the defense just being not very good. We still have injuries on that back end. Greedy Williams is still not back. In fact, went to IR last week. Just where is the blame to be had as to why when they play a decent team, because I'll say a good team because the Steelers are a good team and it shows, why can't the Browns find even a way to stay in games? Because I can handle a loss, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can handle losing this game, just because it's a good team, it's a rival, it's everything that it is. It's AFC North. It's
Smash mouth football, baby.
It's Heinz Field. You're in Pittsburgh. You can handle the loss, but to just show up and not even look like you belong on the field, once again, I wrote on here, they're the bipolar Browns.
Yeah.
For 4 weeks now, they've looked confident. They look good. Hey, this team might win 12, 13 games, maybe even 11, maybe even make the playoffs and get a win or two, and see a really good team in the conference championship game. And that's where they were headed should they have won this week. But just where do we have to look at what the Browns are doing wrong when it comes to big games?
Look, this is a young team. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to place any blames. Yes, injuries. Yes, the secondary is trash. But here's the thing, there's no excuse for the way that Baker played. You could say with Wyatt Teller out, the pocket collapsed easier than it has in the past. You know, you can say the run game wasn't fully there because Nick Chubb is injured. You could say all of that, but when it comes down to it, the Steelers are just a better team. How long has Big Ben been doing this to us? his whole freaking career.
That was the 17th straight loss in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's games that we should have won in Pittsburgh when it came down to a field goal and one of the kickers shanked it left. Don't get me wrong, I could say all that, but they're just the better team. They're more experienced. Their coaching staff has been together longer. This is a first-year coaching staff. You got to remember that. So I can place the blame on those things, or you can just man up and say that the Steelers are the better team.
Yeah, so you're saying we should be realistic about who the Cleveland Browns are. Yes, they have a roster that should be able to compete, but like you said, it's a young roster that is still learning. Let's be real about
4 head coaches for Baker Mayfield in 3 years.
Well, yeah, and maybe let's be real about the fact that, yes, they've obviously progressed because last year even the bad team games against bad teams weren't guaranteed wins. And I'm not saying that they still are because each and every week you go out there and you play an NFL football team. But just be realistic about the fact that they are not the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not gonna be yet, and they maybe at some point they will, but not many people in the history of football are what Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's really... I just want to say one more thing. Odell throwing that temper tantrum, throwing his helmet. My question is, why did he take off his cleats? So that he couldn't get put back in?
You're actually the second person that told me that it was quite a bit of time before the starters were pulled. I didn't see it until after the starters were pulled, so I don't want to have an opinion on it because I could be wrong about what happened. You're saying that it happened before everyone was pulled. Baker was still touted to go on the field. Myles Garrett was still out there on defense. Things like that. He's got his cleats off, just chilling.
Yeah.
You want to know what I say to that?
Huh.
Trade his ass, because he's not contributing that much, right?
No.
He's got a couple 200, 300 yards at this point.
Yeah.
6 games in, they're 4-2 with a prime position to be at least a wild card team. Considering we'll get into their schedule in a little bit, but it's very soft. You know what I'm saying? It's not the hardest schedule. You've got 3 games where you probably, if you play like you did Sunday, you're gonna lose. But you've also got another 7 games where you probably should win.
Absolutely. And also, when Odell gets the ball and he's making plays, he's always hot when he's playing like that. But those games where he doesn't get as many throws, as many targets to him, somebody said it the best. He looks like Braylon Edwards on the sideline, always complaining, always talking about me, where's, So, I don't know what to say about that other than keep your shoes on, man. What if somebody else steps on your toes with their cleats?
Or despite the fact that the starters are pulled, you're one fluke away from having to go back on the field. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones and whoever else is back on the field, but you've only got 5 or 6 receivers. One of those guys gets hurt. Somebody's got to step in, and Jarvis is dealing with the hip still a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're going to send the healthy Odell Beckham Jr. My thing with Odell is he shows up in games people are going to talk about.
Yeah.
He shows up against the New York Giants because there's the story there. He shows up against the Dallas Cowboys because everyone's going to talk about Odell tearing up the Cowboys once again. Mm-hmm. It's just he shows up when he knows he's going to be the focal point of the story if he has a big game. He shows up in a game against Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's probably a story because if the Browns win, they beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh finally. But it's not being talked about like the marketing of the New York Giants or a New York team, or the Dallas Cowboys are the richest franchise in all of sports history for a reason. People talk about them.
Yeah. I don't know. Just send him to L.A., one of the 2 teams. He obviously wants to be in a big market city.
Yeah, and that's probably where he'll end up. I just don't know maybe the Rams sell out for him, but then you're looking at a pick 20 to 30 rather than an early pick. If you can get a decently bad team to bite on him, send him to purgatory.
Yeah.
I know it's weird to think that just a couple years after Jarvis was sent to the Browns for what was purgatory, we're talking about getting rid of Beckham to purgatory. And even if Twitter's going to come at me, if the guy's going to quit on the team, I don't want him here. Now, I get his talent and I get how he could help the team. But if he's not going to show up on game day for all 60 minutes of the game, it's more detrimental than it is helpful at this point.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people saying that they would be more upset if Odell wasn't acting that way during a big loss like that, a blowout. They said it'd be more upsetting if he was calm or not saying anything to anybody, but him showing his emotion shows he wants to stay in Cleveland, which I understand being pissed, but he was doing that just so the cameras would catch that.
Yeah.
Just so, ESPN would talk about it. Mary Kay would talk about it.
I mean,
Tony Grossi, all those guys.
It's all, don't get worked into a shoot is basically the best thing I could say to all of that, because that's really, if you take a look at some of the antics throughout his career, and I'm sick of saying, well, he's a different personality in Cleveland, because obviously he's not. And it's something that you're blind when he's on your team sometimes to that fact. Look, I watched Dez do it for years, and maybe Dez was really doing his thing and yelling at the team for good reasons. And the only reason I can say that is because there's backup from people like Tony Romo and Jason Witten that say that that's what Dez was doing. It was never about get me the ball. There's a lot of people in New York that tell you that Odell Beckham was get me the damn ball.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, he's a changed person, supposedly. That's what everybody thinks is a changed person. But, you gotta... The only people that know firsthand are his teammates and his coaches. Yeah. Or maybe the camera guys on the sideline that overhear all this.
Yeah, absolutely. The only people that are knowing, like you said, the camera guys, maybe the people who have the mics, because I'm sure he's mic'd up at practice. I'm sure they want to know what's going through his head, what he's thinking, everything. Just to figure, because you have to with that sort of, I'm not denying his talent. Like I said, you have to with that sort of star, because that's the price you pay to have someone on that team. But with the fact that he's just not contributing, and I could see you finding room for Donovan Peoples-Jones if he's not on, if Odell's not on the team, to see what you have with a significantly cheaper option. Actually, it's not even that much cheaper because his contract, he isn't owed that much this year and next year. But still, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a rookie. He's going to show up. He's going to do the work. If Rashard Higgins continues to be healthy, don't keep Odell Beckham Jr. just because of injuries or the health of the wide receiver room, because there's wide receivers everywhere that you could plug in as that 3 guy. Rashard Higgins showed that if he's the only option, he can make things happen a couple years ago.
And like I've been saying for the last, since they started talking about football coming back, is the relationship that Higgins and Mayfield have. Is there's a very strong bond between them. They connect. Same with Jarvis Landry. I feel like it's just not there with Baker and Odell.
It's something. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it. It's something, because even with the fact that Jarvis Landry has dropped some balls in the last couple of games, it's still, he's there, he's scrambling while Baker's scrambling. He's finding the spot to give Baker an option when Baker has to bail out. He's in the right position at the right time, and he's kind of what Jason Witten was back when he was a little more athletic for the Dallas Cowboys, a guy that's going to find the spot, get there, and give the quarterback an option that should move the sticks or get very close to move the sticks. The difference is Jarvis Landry is a playmaker, and once he gets the ball in his hands, you never know. I'm all for the attitude and the effort of Jarvis Landry staying on this team. It's time to make a decision on Odell Beckham Jr. and where you go from here with Baker Mayfield, because if you bench him, you can't go back from that. And if you start him, you have to start evaluating what happens with him next year, considering it's time to think about a 5th-year option or it's time to start thinking about, is he the right quarterback to lead this team, who, aside from the quarterback, you can argue is 100% ready for a playoff run, considering if you have that good running back and that good offensive line. Ask the Titans. You can slow things down and win football games in January.
And if they are thinking for a long-term second-string quarterback or somebody to come in after Baker Mayfield, I'm going to say it again. You know what I'm going to say.
Gonna say it again. Go
Dude,
ahead, say it.
ranked 12th quarterback right now in the draft out of every college quarterback.
That's just no Mac love. That's what that's got to be, right?
Well, they haven't played, so
Yeah,
they're
that.
ranking people.
Oh, so it's an active ranking. It wasn't like
Yeah.
a preseason ranking.
No, he's
I
still
was-
at
yeah.
12. But,
I
I
was-
mean,
that's-
season starts on the 4th.
That's just because he hasn't played a game yet. That's why he's
So,
12.
let's go.
He won't be 12 by the end of the year, I promise.
If you're an avid listener to the podcast, you know who I'm talking about. If this is your first podcast, I'm talking about my main man, number 7, Kent State Golden Flashes, Dustin the Crumb.
The Crumb. Midview alum if you're from Lorraine and know what that is, which you should if you're from Lorraine. Just a guy that we think could catapult himself maybe even as high as that third quarterback overall behind Lawrence and Fields. And that's could also only be because of name recognition rather than talent, because if you look at the numbers and compare the numbers, yeah, sure, Dustin Crum has played a little bit of lesser talent compared to Clemson in terms of the postseason, I should say. ACC is not really that good, and they play cupcake teams throughout the year to get where they are. But if you look at the analytics and the advanced stats, Dustin Crum is there. He's got the quick release. He's got the legs. The guy is a bulldozer if he gets going. If you want to go watch tape, definitely go look at that Frisco Bowl, because the guy he destroyed on the other side of that field, Jordan Love, went in the first round this year.
Yeah.
And Dustin Crum outplayed him in every facet of the game.
Dustin Crum, they have him ranked 6'3", 201 pounds from Grafton, Ohio. I mean, trust me, I've seen the guy. I've been on the sideline. I've seen him play. He plays just like Josh Allen. If you want to compare him to a player in the NFL, he's got the arm, he's got the legs, he's got the speed, just like Josh Allen. So, hey, the Browns are looking for another quarterback. Better make that decision quick.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to say they're 4-2. It's time to start making decisions, but it's really time to start making decisions, because you need to know, hey, are we going to try to build this with Baker or without Baker going forward? Because, the Browns could easily make the playoffs this year, and it's gonna skew your opinion on whether or not this is the right time. So whether it's a win or not, you need to start taking a look at the quarterback position. And we've been big proponents of Baker, and we're sitting here telling you to do that. We're sitting here telling you 2 weeks ago we're on the Baker train. Let's keep it rolling. Now we're sitting here telling you there's no excuse for the way he played once again against a good team in the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday.
I've said it all weekend. I cashed in my ticket. I'm on the Baker ship, and I'm going to be just like the band from the Titanic. I will go down with the ship. I will continue to play and go down with the ship. So, obviously, I don't want to see Baker lose. I want to see Baker continue to play like he did in his first year and like he did against those good teams that we got those wins. I'm just saying, if you need to make the change, if that's how the organization wants to go, look at Crum. You can get him early second round, late first. He'll still be there.
You could
Low risk, high reward.
Yeah, low risk, high reward. He's gonna have to sit, so you're gonna have to figure out who you want in this time. If you're gonna pick up a fifth-year option on Baker and think that he's gonna be your starter for the next 2 years, maybe try to groom Crum into who you want him to be. He's gonna have to sit maybe a year, but he'll be ready. He'll be ready to go. And he's tall, he's big. Josh Allen is probably a good description I think he's he reminds me of a faster young Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay. I can see that.
Just big. He's gonna bounce off of people when he does take off, and he's got the big arm. He can do it all.
And they have the Mac connection.
The Mac connection. Start taking a look at Dustin Crum, and I'm telling you, Any Given Podcast is not going to steer you wrong. But with that being said, let's go around the NFL and give you some scores from Week 6. The Broncos, thanks to Brandon McManus' 6 field goals, beat the Patriots 18-12. That helped me a lot in our fantasy this week, putting McManus back in and dropping Carlson from the Raiders. The Titans in a shootout with the Houston Texans, and Derrick Henry punching in a last-minute field goal, last-minute touchdown, wins 42-36. The Browns got absolutely embarrassed, as you know, 38-7. The Ravens were destroying the Philadelphia Eagles really early. Philadelphia made a comeback only to lose 30-28.
Bird on bird crime.
That's bird on bird crime. The Giants just barely edged out the Washington football team 20-19. The Vikings lost to the Falcons 40-30. The Falcons finally did not blow a big lead. The Detroit Lions beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-16.
Wow, it's kitty on kitty crime.
That's kitty on kitty crime. With some horse on kitty crime.
Yep.
The Bengals, who had a big lead over the Colts early, end up losing 31-27. The Bears, who are one of the surprising 5-1 teams, they somehow continue to find ways to win games, beat the Panthers 23-16. In one of the few shutouts you will ever see in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins shut out the New York Jets 24-0. And in a game that was very surprising in America's Game of the Week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Green Bay Packers 38-10 after 2 early interceptions from Aaron Rodgers just sent that game sideways.
You could almost say that that Tom Brady and Gronk raided the Acme Packers.
In Sunday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers took a win over the Los Angeles Rams 24-16. And then 2 Monday night games. The Kansas City Chiefs beat out the Bills 26-17, made Josh Allen look not so great for the first time this year. And then the Arizona Cardinals absolutely destroyed my Dallas Cowboys 38-10, which it really should have only been 38-3 besides a garbage time touchdown that took the Cowboys nearly 8 minutes to score in 20 plays in the fourth quarter.
Which, the 2 Monday night games, it kind of seemed like it should have been reversed because the Chiefs always respected the Buffalo Bills, and it was the Cowboys and the Pioneers that killed off a lot of Buffalo. So, it seems a little off kilter, but that's how the NFL does it. That was a little history lesson for you guys.
A little history lesson. So with that, what is your surprise game of the week and just you did not expect it to happen?
I was gonna say that's a tough one. I would say Eagles, Ravens. I thought the Birds were gonna pull it out, and the Shitbirds were gonna lose, but then it came down to the final seconds, and Philadelphia did Philadelphia things and blew it.
I'm going to say Chiefs-Bills.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was potentially for all the marbles. You know what I'm saying? I get it was originally supposed to be a Thursday night game, and it got pushed back for all sorts of reasons for the Bills, and they've kind of been through this schedule fluctuation. So have the Chiefs. But I feel like we expected this to be potentially an AFC Championship preview game.
Yeah.
And we kind of got robbed of that with the ill play forced upon Josh Allen. And even the Chiefs didn't look as good as you would think.
No.
Scoring 26 points. It wasn't as good of a game Monday night at 5 o'clock. And I know a lot of people are advocating for the early Monday game or the second Monday game rather than a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, whatever. Wherever you put it, I'm going to watch it.
There's 32 teams.
Yeah.
There's 7 days a week. Put those up. You
Yeah.
could be playing football every night of the week.
Figure it out if you want. Tuesday games if you want. It doesn't matter. You're going to figure out what you're going to figure out. You start adding all those days. You're going to have to start adding extra bye weeks and stuff like that. But I totally expected this just to be a way more competitive game.
Yeah, I think with the Tuesday night game last week and then the Monday night game this week, I think it kind of threw a wrench in the Bills' momentum that they had going, being undefeated,
Yeah.
and then the Titans coming out and just whooping off on them. Josh Allen looked positive, though. He shook every single one of his teammates' hands. He did not take off his cleats. He did not throw his helmet. He shook his teammates' hands and said, "We got it next week." This week, he was showing a lot of signs of frustration. He was cussing on the sideline. He was saying things not at his teammates, but he was still trying to amp them up. But you could see the frustration this week in Josh Allen compared to last week.
Well, you got to think it is frustrating, right? He just faced the two teams that anybody would argue, aside from themselves, are the Super Bowl contenders. The Chiefs, the Titans, the Bills, and then now the Steelers and Ravens are probably your top 5 in terms of who you're going to argue is your AFC representative in the Super Bowl. And so those are losses that you take to your mental quite a bit, because they are the teams that you feel are going to be your obstacles to reach that pinnacle of where you want to go, making the Super Bowl, and hopefully once you get there, walking away with the Lombardi Trophy. And to get beat in the fashion that both times that he did, like you said, getting absolutely boat raced by the Tennessee Titans on Tuesday, and then coming back yesterday, Monday night against the Chiefs and laying another egg. Now, it wasn't quite as bad as the loss to the Tennessee Titans because the Chiefs didn't play that well offensively. You still got to think it's pretty frustrating because, yeah, they might walk to a division title with everyone else kind of sitting at 500 in that division. But
that's sorry to cut you off, but that's just like, that reminds me of Bills probably are in the mindset like the Browns are, like the two teams they're most likely going to have to face in the playoffs. You know, can they beat them?
Yeah.
Can't they? And they showed that they can't. Just like the Browns, the two teams we have to get through in the AFC North, they just kicked our ass.
It's kind of similar, the same frustration. Two teams that have just, you got to get through to be anything. You laid an egg against both of them. Now, Buffalo didn't lose quite as bad as the Browns did either time, but it's still something to look ahead. I wrote down here, Cowboys abysmal loss to Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Apparently on the topic sheet, abysmal was my favorite word because I wrote it like 4 times. I just wanted to bring it up. Do you think it was just week 1 with Andy Dalton, that quarterback? Is it? I'll blame it on the fact that you ended up with 5 backup offensive linemen in that game. Besides Connor Williams, I guess, but even he has the talent of, he was the weak link on that offensive line coming into the year.
Yeah.
And now he's the best offensive lineman, and that's not what you want. Is it time for them to think maybe let's roll out the year with two more wins, unload something to maybe set themselves up to get 2 first-round draft picks next year to try to build on what they're going to need in terms of a back-end defense? Or do you think it's time to make the decision on Dak and then just figure out how do they get in line for one of those top 2 or 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, like you were saying, win 2 more. So you're 4, and I just blanked on.
They've got 2 wins, and I'm not sure
so you
the
win
Jets
2 more, so you got 4 wins, and then you get a higher draft pick. Who do you think would be the best fit though for the Cowboys?
Lawrence is gonna 100% be the best fit for them if it was between him and Fields. outside of those two, because I'm not sure they can lose enough games this year to beat out the Giants or the Jets for 1 and 2 to get one of those two guys. You got to that at that point it's time to make a decision on Dak. You're either going to pay him what he wants because he's going to get paid what he wants despite coming off an injury if he hits free agency, or it's time to look at Dustin Crum or
It's a good idea.
anybody really that's left out there.
I was looking it up. They got North Dakota has a
Carson Wentz's replacement.
mm-hmm.
He's only really kept them where Wentz got him. You know what I'm saying? They're still very good. That Bison team is still very good. Other than that, I can't think of another. Like Spencer Rattler has not been very good.
Trey Lance,
Trey
6'3",
Lance.
225. So he's got some more weight on him than Dustin Crum, but same height, right around there. There's always going to be in every draft that one sneaky quarterback that no one has paid attention to. Obviously, that being an FCS school.
Well, I think it's Dustin Crum.
You think Dustin Crum is the Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think he's the sneaky guy that
Carson
not
Wentz.
many people have paid attention to. I think he fits that mold. Trey Lance could too. Like you said, FCS school, North Dakota State, just like Carson Wentz, falling under the radar, but he'll get there. The decision is Dak your future? Because then at that point you got to think you need to start thinking of who can help in a top 10 pick on the back end of that defense. And if you can't get somebody in the draft, then you trade that top 10 pick for somebody who's already in the NFL that can help on the back end of that defense, because it's blown coverages, and ridiculous fumbles from your $15 million a year running back that are costing that team a lot of wins.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they could easily be undefeated, but they could easily be 500 or better without just abysmal. The fact that Atlanta game was close shouldn't even be a thing. You shouldn't be down 19 within 5 minutes of the game starting. You lost to the Browns. I'll give the Browns that. They just beat you from start to finish. The Rams beat you from start to finish, but everyone else, and the Cardinals beat you from start to finish. But I think the other 3 games were just a couple plays away, a couple bad mistakes away from you being a 3-3 them being a 3-3 football team, and the entire situation might be talked about a little differently with Andy Dalton being in, even if things shook a little differently with Dak. It could have been better.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. It's just there's those little things that they keep doing, and it's the little things that lose you games.
They're doing a lot of things I've seen the Browns do during 1-15, 1-16.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
It's scary to say that, but they're doing a lot of that stuff. But we've been talking about football for nearly 40 minutes now. You want to get into some baseball, because I know it seems like it's on the back burner for us today, but it is World Series time, my man. Okay, we got something going here. Ethan's taking off some clothes. I think I know what's coming.
Let's go!
The Tampa Bay Rays. Like I told you last week, one of my favorite color schemes here. I love the purple shirt. Game 1, Tuesday night, pretty much 2 or 3 hours after we get done recording. Dodgers versus the Rays down in Arlington, Texas. Clayton Kershaw is on the mound tonight for the Dodgers against Tyler Glasnow for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Dodgers have not announced their Game 2 starter for tomorrow night, but Blake Snell is going to start for the Rays in Game 2 tomorrow night, and then they'll have a break before Games 3 and Game 4.
All right, I'm going to say Game 1, I'm going to give it to the Dodgers just because.
They've been here before?
And Clayton Kershaw is on the mound.
Well, last time he was on the mound, the Braves rocked him.
All right. Maybe that – I was going to say because Game 2 they have Snell, and Snell played like trash last game. So I think it's going to be redemption
reverse,
time.
Do you think
Yeah.
they both might end up getting their redemption? Kershaw in game 1, Snell in game 2.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Here's the thing. The Rays have the better pitching, I think, just all around. And, yeah, the Dodgers have Buehler and Kershaw, but after that it's a drop-off. So unless they go a 3-man rotation to get those guys back in as quickly as possible, which it is the World Series, you're going to sell out to win some damn games. So they could. I'd probably say the Dodgers have the better lineup. Just you got Mookie Betts, you got Cody Bellinger, you got
Corey Seager, you got all those guys. Yeah, they definitely have the better lineup, but the Rays, they have sneaky players.
Yeah.
Because they're not a big market team, you're not going to hear about these guys. Manuel Marget, you have Randy Arozarena, G-Man Chu, who they didn't play. The reason that series, I feel like, went to 7 games, the ALCS, is they played him the first 2 games, or the first 3 games, and then they sat him till the last game.
And he was hot.
G-Man, yeah.
Their offense, they were hot the first 3 games. And then just
Yeah. Why would you sit one of your hottest players? That doesn't make any sense. Yandy Diaz batting 5th. He hasn't been as reliable as he could be, but when he gets big, he starts hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And that's what you need from a DH. DHs aren't really supposed to go out there and hit singles every time.
They're going to strike out a lot, but they're also going to give you some runs
And
over the wall.
Kevin Kiermaier, that's the biggest thing. He's coming back after taking that pitch off his left wrist in game, I believe, 4.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was 4, and it was all swollen and stuff, so they only brought him in to pinch run. He's back in the lineup. Very exciting. Yeah, like you said, I mean, you look at their lineup, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Max Muncy batting cleanup, Will Smith, Cody Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Jock Peterson, and Austin Barnes. They just have they have a sexier lineup, I would say.
But it like you said earlier, it is truly big market versus small market. The entire payroll for the Tampa Bay Rays is somewhere around $25 million. The entire payroll for Clayton Kershaw and Mookie Betts is about $25 million.
Yeah.
So 2 players compared to an entire squad, it puts it in a perfectly in the perfect perspective. The thing with that is, I really wasn't expecting their payroll to be that low, considering people are upset that the Indians won't spend over $100 million a year, and the Rays are spending a quarter of that and going to the playoffs.
Hey, I don't know, but congratulations, Francisco Lindor. Your next team is starting in the World Series tonight, or is playing in the World Series tonight.
And it shows it pays to spend money, right?
Yeah.
They've been there 3 of the last 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put my hoodie back on because now it is getting very cold.
It is very, very chilly in here. I was surprised you started taking it off. You just had to show off the Rays shirt, and I completely understand it. I guess we got to start thinking about predictions. How long you think this is going to go? You think we get baseball all the way until October 17th? We're past the 17th. Yeah. All the way until October 28th. Or so do we get baseball the rest of October, or do we get out of here in 4 or 5 games, maybe even just 6?
I would say 6. Obviously, I'm not going to call for a sweep for any team, because that's just they're the 2 best teams in baseball right now.
It's also very hard to do in baseball.
Yeah,
it's not like it is in NBA where if you got a LeBron James on your team,
right,
you're probably sweeping a 6 through 8 seed.
But I'm just saying, lock it down, my boys.
Lock it down. Get ready for it. Ethan thinks in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, actually 8 days, the
Rays,
the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be World Series champions. I'm having troubles picking either team. I'll tell you, as a baseball fan, I prefer to see the Rays win the title, just because big market teams make me disgusted. Seeing them win make me disgusted. See, anytime you see the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, any of the likes of those teams, it puts a bad taste in your mouth. Sure, I was excited to see the Lakers win the NBA title, but that was for LeBron James. That wasn't because of the fact that it was a Los Angeles team. That was just I saw my boy win another title.
I just want him to rack up as many as he can because I'm sick of Michael Jordan didn't lose in the finals.
He could very well win 6 rings, and if he wants to step away after that, then Michael Jordan's fans don't have any sort of argument after that.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's already said he's playing until Bronny comes in the league.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He gets 2 more, and if that Lakers team continues to build around him, I think they might have to add another star, considering what Golden State's about to bring back to make the finals again. But he needs 2 more, and with the way they played this year and as dominant as they look towards the end of that finals trip, he can win 2 more. And then what argument is there against him? So to sit him at number 1 over Michael Jordan, he leads him in most statistical categories except for maybe playoff scoring, which it's very. But if he wins 2 more rings, it's very possible he gets there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, but back to baseball. You say Rays win 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say we get a Game 7. Rays win 4-3. I think they actually go down 3-2 and win 2 in a row to win the title.
They come back.
Yeah, they come back to win the title. I think it goes Dodgers Game 1, Rays Game 2, Dodgers Game 3, Dodgers Game 4. No, that's wrong. I think it goes Dodgers 1, Rays 2, Rays 3, Dodgers 4 and 5, and then Rays 6 and 7.
As long as there's no clean sweep.
Yeah, there's definitely not going to be a clean sweep. Like I said, it's one of the harder things. Baseball is one of the harder sports to pull off a sweep. Obviously, football, there really isn't a chance to sweep people besides the 3 division teams. You play them twice. I guess if you beat them both times, it's a clean sweep of that team, which is truthfully just exactly what it is. But looks like we need to get back into this day in sports history. Make sure you check out the World Series. If someone steals a base, you do get a free Doritos Logo Taco from Taco Bell. But this day in sports history, brought to you by my main man, Ethan Simpson. What do you got for me?
This day in sports history, October 20th, 1963, Jim Brown sets NFL single-season rushing record with 1,863 yards. Now, there's been a lot of speculation, speaking of LeBron and Michael Jordan, is Jim Brown the greatest NFL running back? Everybody has their debates, from Jim Brown to O.J. Simpson to, why am I blanking
Walter
here?
Payton,
Walter
Barry
Payton,
Sanders.
yeah.
Yeah.
LT, all those guys. Jim Brown, obviously, is, to Browns fans, is the greatest running back ever. Jim Brown set in motion for a lot of NFL running backs. He left the NFL in 1965 to pursue an acting career, which was very plentiful. As you know, other NFL running backs have followed him. O.J. Simpson wore number 32 because of Jim Brown. O.J. Simpson left in his prime, just like Jim Brown, to go into movies, the Naked Gun series. Yep. Jim Brown also threw one of his ex-wives off a 3rd-story balcony, but we don't talk about that.
That's not good to talk about, but it happened.
Yeah. So he was taken in the 1st round in the 1957 NFL draft by the Cleveland Browns, 6th overall. In the 9th game of his rookie season, he rushed for 237 yards, setting an NFL single-game record that stood unsurpassed for 14 years, and a rookie record that remained for 40 years. and then he broke the single-season rushing record in 1958, gaining 1,527 yards in 12-game season. And then he just kept breaking the records. Went to acting, was a leading man. He was in some movies with. One second. If you want to go on, I'll find this here in a second.
I was just thinking, so you're saying that he did it in 12 games, 1,567.
Yeah.
The current record is Eric Dickerson's at 2,105. I'm sitting here saying that it's very possible with the fact that with the way Jim Brown ran, that he could have back then, with the way rushing was back then, easily broken today's record if he had 16 games.
Yeah.
He needed but nearly 600 yards in 4 games, which, with the way he was running back then, very possible. 1,500 in 12 games is roughly like 130, 140 a game.
Yeah.
So 130, 140 a game, you add about 10 or 15 yards to that average through the last 4 games, you end up beating 2,105. And you're still holding the record, what? That was 53? Or no, 63? 58? I have it up here.
This one is 63.
So 63. So you're still holding the record 57 years later, possibly. And so when you start talking about greatest of all times, think about what Jim Brown would do if he had a 16-game schedule. Would he still be better than, like you said, the likes of O.J. Simpson, Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson went over 2,000 yards one year. You really should put the respect that Jim Brown not only might be one of the best of all time, could be the best of all time, but also is one of the sole reasons that the Cleveland Browns still have a culture. They look to this man for every single sort of leadership role. To this day, he limps in there with his cane and leads this team some 50 years after he was done being a Cleveland Brown.
Absolutely. He was there at the championship, the Cavs championship parade in 2016.
Yeah.
He was at the World Series. He still comes around every Cleveland event. He loves Cleveland. He's still Cleveland through and through. So in his acting career, in the 1999 film Any Given Sunday, he played the defensive coordinator on there. And then he went to 20th Century Fox, and in his first Western, 100 Rifles, in 1969, he was co-stars with Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch. For the young guys out there, if you don't know who Raquel Welch is, definitely look her up.
Look her up. I don't know who it is, but I'll look her up.
Oh, you definitely look her up. And countless TV shows, movies, just an all-around great guy. He used to be a color analyst on the NFL telecast for CBS in 1978, teaming up with Vince Scully and George Allen. So, I mean, the guy's done everything.
NFL Hall of Famer, the most important football player in the state of Ohio, not named Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
Just, you can't continue to say the same things. They're called synonyms for a reason. Whether we call him the GOAT or the pinnacle of Ohio running backs, you start to, Nick Chubb starts getting, he might be the new Jim Brown 60 years later. Things like that just throw everything into perspective on who Jim Brown was. And to bring in that on October 20th, 1963, he broke the single season record at over 1,500 yards in a 12-game season. Like I said, you can argue that he even breaks the 2,105 that currently stands if he were given those 16 games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
and he's playing a 12-game season, and after that 12th game, he's NFL champion. You know what I'm saying? He innovated running backs. He made LT be what he was. He made Barry Sanders be what he was. Everyone that came after him emulated Jim Brown.
He made OJ what he was on the football field.
On the football field, you can have your own other opinion. Obviously, we have our own other opinion on who OJ was off the field.
Hey, speak for yourself. OJ was a great man. He made some funny movies, and he was a color analyst.
Hey, I said other people might have a different opinion than you, bro. I'm on your side.
Hey, in the words of OJ, I'm just saying.
We almost named this show Juice for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're on the same page there, Mr. Simpson.
Alrighty. Hey, that's my uncle, so I'm just saying.
There's a reason you love him, and there's a reason. But we're winding down here on time, my man. What else you got for me? You got anything else?
You can follow me on Twitter at ETH Simpson, CGOD. You can follow me on Instagram at ETH Simpson. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at PodcastGiven.
On Instagram at Any Given Podcast. You can go on Facebook. Find us on Facebook.com/AnyGivenPodcast. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube. Oh, and I guess you could follow me too. Follow me on Twitter at BWardCLE. Follow me on Instagram, b.ward52, because I still refuse to change it somehow. And then you can do whatever you want with the rest of your week. As always, have a great rest of your week. Whatever you decide to do. What else you got?
God bless and stay blessed.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Any Given Podcast.
Peace.